Hi there, it's Nicole here with a Sending Smiles stamp showcasing the Whimsy Stamps Handmade From Me greeting stamp set, and I've paired that with the adorable hedgehog and little birdie there images from the Hedgehog's Whimsy Stamps stamp set. Now I die cut this rectangle from the hand-stitched rectangles die collection from Whimsy Stamps. And then I stamped a greeting from the Handmade From Me stamp set using a black dye ink. I loved this greeting. I love how the words are stacked one on top of another. Then I stamped the hedgehog and bird from the Hedgehog's stamp set using the antique linen distress ink. I needed something really light so that I could do a no-line watercolor type look on my image. So on the tummy, I used antique linen ink, just used a damp paintbrush dipped in the ink to apply that to the tummy. And then for the rest of the body, I'm applying a little bit of the Gathered Twigs Distress ink. For the little spikes or the little spiny portion of the hedgehog, I am just taking my paintbrush that is just barely damp. It's not wet at all because I want that detail of those little spikes. So I'm starting with the Gathered Twigs Distress ink first and just kind of flicking that all over. Then I'm going to use a little ground espresso to make a little bit darker spikes. Again, with a little antique linen for the face. The face detail completely disappears with the application of the distress inks. So what you have to do is kind of guess a little bit. I stamped my image next to me on this grid paper. I did add some very watered down picked raspberry distress ink to the cheeks on my hedgehog. But what that does by stamping the image next to it, I can kind of draw in those elements. So here in a little bit, once the face dries, I'm going to apply some more color to the face before I go in with a detail pin. The heart, I stamped from that Hedgehog's stamp set and then colored it in or painted it in with the Barn Door Distress marker and a paintbrush dipped in water. I'm going to add a little detail to the ears there around the face. Just kind of moving around so that parts of the image dry really good without having to hit them with a heat tool, and then I can go back in and apply more color where I need to. Soften some of those lines there. For the nose, I'm using the ground espresso ink. I'm going to color that back in and also draw in the eyebrows. For the eyes themselves, I will be using a black glaze pen once the image is completely and totally dry. I wanted to add a little bit more color to these spikes, so I am using the Rusty Hinge Distress marker. And that's going to give that kind of orangey or rust looking spikes and really add some nice pops of color. If it's a little too much, which I felt like maybe I got a little too heavy-handed with it, I went back in with the ground espresso and colored over some of those. Really, the more layering, the more color you can add here, the better. I think it looks so much better the more that you can add. For the cute little birdie sitting there on top of the word sending, which is super hard to see until I start coloring him in, I'm using the Cracked Pistachio Distress ink for the body of the bird, and then Scattered Straw for the tummy and the Rusty Hinge for the beak. I simply take the markers, use the brush tip to color on acrylic block, and then pick up the color with a damp paintbrush. The legs, I'm going to go in with the ground espresso again, and that is going to be it for the bird. I did even go back to my hedgehog and apply just a little bit more ink and a little picked raspberry for the cheek on the bird. Now I'm using that black glaze pen to draw in my eyes, and I'm going to let that dry really good. Add some white dots to the cheeks and a little highlight to the heart itself. With the Mowed Lawn Distress ink or distress marker, I'm going to draw a little landscape there underneath my hedgehog. Very simple Kind of helps ground the whole image, draw some little grass spikes coming up as well. Then I'm going to color in the hearts from the Handmade From Me stamp set with the Barn Door Distress Marker, and then stamp those. I used first and second generation stamping for those 2 small hearts, and then I'll use just the first generation for this medium-sized heart. I can go over those with a paintbrush if they didn't stamp really crisp and cleanly. This is a watercolored card, so I didn't worry too much about that, but I did apply just a little bit of water. I could have also just gone with the Wink of Stella clear glitter brush pen, and that would have blended them out as well, but I did go back over them to add a little glitz and glimmer. The white gel pen is going to add those great highlights to the eyes that really make the images come to life. Once that's completely dry, I'm going to cover the back of this panel with foam tape. And I'm going to cover the entire thing and then attach this to a 4-bar sized note card from Simon Says Stamp. And this is a super easy, clean and simple card. So easy to create. You could create multiples of these so simply. I love the cute critter images from this Whimsy Stamps release. I think they're fun to color. They're a nice big size and would look great colored with any kind of medium. I did add a highlight to the bird's eye as well. Now on the back of my note card, because this has got lots of great little greetings that work on the back of cards or envelopes, I did add this cute From My Heart to Yours image. And then I can sign my name above that as well. So that finishes up this great Whimsy Stamps card featuring the Handmade From Me stamp set. The supplies I've used are listed and linked below the video on YouTube. Here are a couple more videos featuring Whimsy stamps and dies that you might be interested in. Please subscribe for weekly card making and stamping videos. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next time.